You know, in the springtime, early spring, our yard always looks so nice with all the white flowers blooming in yellow and purple, and our redbud tree kind of accenting the whole thing. God, I hate to cut them, but I can't wait much longer. Maybe 2 more days, maybe. I don't know. It looks pretty, huh? Looks like snow. And around the old garage, almost looks like a little cottage sitting out there, huh? Even with the garage door. With the 2 garage doors, it still looks like a cottage. Pretty neat. Well, hello again. There's a little wind blowing today. Hopefully it won't interfere with the video. On our last video, we left off on this where I needed to torque this nut down until I got the preload set at about 17 inch-pounds. And, you know, everything was going good. The problem ultimately became, how do I hold this yoke still while I'm cranking down on this nut? That was a big issue. I tried the pipe wrench. You remember the big old pipe wrench I used, I think it was the last video, trying to hold it still. That just wasn't working. I needed to be able to have something that would hold it really still while I cranked down on this. And this thing would be flopping around, you know. It's just, I mean, I was just like, what am I going to do? Anyway, what happened, I decided to build a wooden square thing out of 2x4s and mount this thing so the yoke was sticking straight up. Well, first I went ahead and tried the old socket on there with the ratchet and, you know, with this thing straight up, and again tried the pipe wrench to hold the yoke, and that still didn't work. I was really at my wit's end. So I decided there had to be, I almost took it downtown and had it done professionally, but I just didn't want to give up, you know. You just, you know, it's one of those things, you know. So I broke out the old breaker bar that I have here once again, and I said, well, maybe that'll work, but I still had to come up with a solution for this. I just didn't think that the ratchet was going to work no matter what, you know. It just wasn't long enough. It wasn't, I was afraid I might ultimately break this because, you know, I was putting about 180 pounds of torque on that thing. If I could get 180 pounds of torque. So the only thing I could do was to go back where I used to work, where I retired from, and call on my old buddy Joe the welder to come up with something I could use to hold this yoke still, to keep it from spinning, while I took this here and tightened it up. And you know, I took the yoke into him is all I did. I just took the yoke in, I set it down. He knew exactly what I needed instantly. He's one of those guys, extremely creative fella. He just takes a look at something and boom, he'll knock it out in a matter of minutes. He's very, very good. He's a good fabricator and an excellent welder. He said, come back and see me tomorrow, kid. So I did. I went back the next day and I'll show you what he gave me. This is what he handed me. Look at this sucker. Man, it is just heavy. I mean, it is thick steel. And he told me all you got to do is you just got to stick it up here, these 2 holes. This one right here and this one right here. You just run your bolts through. He had the bolts already for me and everything. He said you just run the 2 bolts through like so and mount it on there, and there's the hole for your socket. And I took it home and I said, well, let me set this thing up and see what it looks like. I'll show you how it works. Well, that's what it looks like once it's mounted on, with these 2 bolts here, which secure it to the yoke, and these 2 here, which enables the steel to rest against. In case one of these were to snap or bend or something, this will keep that from happening, okay? I mean, if it snapped off or something, it would keep me from, you know, busting my arm if that thing gave away, or, you know, to keep it from actually bending these bolts. These are pretty hard bolts, but they're not hardened steel, I don't believe. So anyway, here's what I had, and all I had to do was put my old breaker bar on there and then squeeze the 2 together, you know, up from the bottom and down from the top using both arms. And I did. I squeezed and I squeezed, and the most I could get was 10 inch-pounds. Oh man, I'll tell you what, it started going down real good, you know, and then all of a sudden it got harder and harder and harder. And I just got to the point where, even though it was in that wooden box, now keep in mind it was in the wooden box and I was doing this horizontally, I couldn't get past 10 inch-pounds. And now I'm like stuck in the water. I can't get that thing to budge another fraction of an inch, you know, by just squeezing it with both hands, one on each side. However, this calls for a little bit of ingenuity, which I will do tomorrow, and hopefully it'll work. Well, here's our ingenuity. You might hear a bunch of dogs barking in the backyard. In the background, we have a lab that just showed up over here, and our dogs always go bananas. Here's our ingenuity. You know, fortunately, old Joe the welder built this thing strong enough, and I can just wedge it between the tree, and I've been able to, you know, put the pipe on the other end here, like so, like that, and really get. I managed to turn it another half a turn. So, just to let you know, hopefully I can get it up around 17. If I wind up with 19, I'm going to be happy. You know, I'm not going to worry about it. That's about the best I can do. Now the edge of this tape is at around 18. I think it is 17 and a half, 18. And if we can get that needle to go about right there, I think that's going to be just about right. That may be off by, you know, an inch pound or something, but I think it's pretty good myself. That's the best I'm going to do with it. Let's try it on the table one more time. It's going to have to go with whatever it is. I don't care. It was too hard to do that. Okay, now remember that edge of that tape is 18. Sitting right about at the edge of that tape, huh? I think it's going to be good. So that's how we accomplished our torque. It's fantastic. It's great. I'm happy. And all I have to do now is get it back up under the car. Yeah. That's all I have to do. So here's the big plan for that. I'm going to have to use both jacks, I think, side by side. Get that rear end up there on a board. I'm going to fasten a board across them, try to make it as level as I can, then jack up one, jack up the other, and just come up slowly. It only needs to come up about 8 or 9 inches, you know. And then it should be lined up enough where I can juggle everything around and hopefully slip it right on the studs. That's what's good about having the rear axle housing with studs on it, sticking out all the way around. You don't have to worry about aligning anything. Just slip it over the studs and bam. Yeah, you line it up to get the, you know, if you just get one stud in or partially in, you're almost home free, and then you just kind of rotate it left and right until it just slips right across. Well, at least that's the plan. Well, this is our next victim as far as the radios go, you know, and by now you know I'm mixing radios with cars on the same video. Why not, you know? The more the merrier, right? Keep you informed and keep you interested, I hope. If not, hey, find another video. Anyway, this is called a Howard 906. It was sent to me by our good subscriber Dave up in Michigan. It's been quite a while ago. He sent this to me, maybe 2 years. Been sitting around in the shop out there with the rest of these radios I've been plowing through. I told him someday I'd get around to doing it. Well, guess what, Dave? Someday is here. It's just the way it is. It's got some real problems, this thing. It's a 906 from 1940, model 906 from 1947. And as you can see, it is one big mess. However, I checked out all the coils in accordance with the schematic. Every single coil, to include power transformer, output transformer, the IF coils, all that jazz. Homed them all out, and I got continuity on everything. I said, wow, how about that? So then I took the tubes out, cleaned them up, checked them. 3 of the tubes were bad. Well, actually, 1 of the tubes was bad. It was shot. The other 2 were 12-volt tubes, and these were supposed to be 6-volt tubes. They had 12 SQ, let me see, they had a 12 SK7 in place of a 6 SK7, and a 12, I think it was a SA7 in place of a 6 SA7. So fortunately for me, I went out of my old tube stash, and lo and behold, if I didn't have those tubes in that tube stash. So we're good to go on tubes now. Everything's going to be great. And now all I got to do is kind of clean it up and de-rust it. Boy, that thing is a rusty mess, isn't it? Look at that. Man, oh man, oh man. It's just horrible. But anyway, we'll do the best we can. And of course the dial string has to be broken. It's just hanging right here. Fortunately, I've got some dial string the guy gave me a number of years ago. I kept it. I fixed the radio for him, so he gave me a whole bunch of dial string. And I said, well, it was real nice of him to do that. And I've got to take this cardboard here and cover this speaker up before I start messing around, or I'll wind up mangling the speaker. These old paper cones, boy, I mean, right there in the center you can see the dust. The dust cover on it is all torn up anyway. I got to do something about that too. I'll probably just instead of removing this dust cover, I might just blow it out real easy, like with a can of air, real easy, and then lay another pad right over the top of that. As long as the cone is working, of course. I mean the voice coil is working. I'll have to see. Anyway, let's get on to the car, okay? We're going to have to end the video here. I never did get the rear end up because it's too heavy. I can't get it up. I'm going to have to figure out something else. It's going to take a while, but I've got to get the leverage I need. It's just, I'm just not strong enough anymore. Back when I was 25, 30, no problem. But anymore, you just give up and try something else. And the second problem is the gasket I bought from Rock Auto for the rear end. The holes are not punched properly in it, so it doesn't fit. You know, the gasket's okay. It's a good thick gasket and all that, but the holes are located in the wrong place. They're off by just a little bit all the way around from where the, you know, one is a little bit far this way, one's a little bit far that way. Chinese junk, you know. Anyway, I'll probably have to order another one. Well, I am going to have to order another one. They have a different kind. They have like 2 or 3 selections. I think they, if I remember, they had a kind that had a seal down through the center, all the way around on both sides of the gasket. When you push it to, when you tighten up the rear end to the axle, to the housing, it collapses that seal on both sides. So we'll see. It's a little more expensive, but maybe the holes will line up. I don't know. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the radio vid so far. I got a couple more to show you. And we'll go ahead and end the video here. I'm sorry it took so long to get this one up. This video uploaded. It couldn't be helped. Believe me, it could not be helped. And all I can say is I'll get that on order. When it comes in, I'll try to figure this out. And we'll see you next time. Until then, this is John. Well, there's our little green Zenith G516. I don't know if you remember that one from the last video, but that's my transmitter coming through here. Pretty good, I think. But the other stations are pretty weak this time at night. It's just before, it was about another hour and a half before dark. We just don't get much AM out here, especially in the house. We get some. Very weak. But anyway, that radio's now fixed. And we have the Westinghouse model H708T5, which is the charcoal and white radio in this model. They're different colors. They have different numbers at the end. They're 709, 10, 11, I believe it is, for different colors. Anyway, this is I'm keeping this radio. This is kind of my little go-to radio. Whenever I need something real quick, I can set up. It does a great job. It has good reception, but you know, even this time of day, it's pretty bad around here for this radio. Let me turn off the light here. It'll help a little bit. Yeah, reception in the house here is just so bad on AM at this time. Let's see if I can get the transmitter. Oh, there we go. That whistle, high-pitched tone you hear is coming from that transmitter. We've got some new electronics added to the house lately. We're beginning to get different whistle sounds here and there. Tell you what, before closing out, I kind of skull-brained this thing a little bit. Let me give you my kind of sort of maybe idea of raising that differential up because it's so heavy. I'll have to use a jack, of course, which I think I mentioned in the last segment or the segment before that. The problem was, how was I going to get the differential to sit there, because it's round, it's going to rock back and forth. Well, this is a cutting board, one of those plastic cutting boards you can buy at Walmart. It's been laying around for quite a while. I'm going to cut it down to the size I need. And how do I fasten it to the jack, though? That was another problem. Well, I have a wheel puller kit. And in that wheel puller kit is a bearing separator. Now that bearing separator, I have it fastened real tight onto this right here. You know, this thing will spin, but around the base here, I've got it tightened down real good, so this is really solid. And I've got a bolt hole here and a bolt hole there. I may have to wind up moving these bolt holes around to this side and this side. I'm not sure right now. I just got it tightened up so it'll stay there to see if it would work. So all I have to do is, after I get this board cut down in size, is mount it up here, drill holes through it, and put the bolts right down through it, and that'll hold it in place. Then I can put, you know, a towel on there, or some kind of pad to help hold the differential, you know, in position. Might even be able to bore some holes on the left and right, and run something up over the top and tie it down to where all I have to do is get it up about, you know, maybe 7-8 inches, and it'll hopefully slide right in. But like I said, these holes may have to go side to side instead of front to rear. But that's it. I'll let you know how we make out on that in the next video.